Hello everyone, and welcome to week 1 of REEFSCAPE. We just saw official matches play out for the first time, and we're here to break down what worked, what didn't work, and what we want to take into future weeks of the competition. I'm Ari, I'm a scouting and strategy mentor on FRC 8085 Mojo and FRC 3940 Cyber 2. And I'm here to walk you through this FUNalysis of one of the most interesting matches that I saw this weekend. Not because it was high scoring or really drove in some of the things that we've been seeing as the meta, but it used some unique strategies that I think that we're going to be able to take into the rest of the season, and hopefully be able to get more ranking points. REEFSCAPE is all about ranking points. There are 6 ranking points available over the course of the match, which is more than we have ever seen in an entire season. We want to be able to get at least 4, maybe 5 of those ranking points consistently if you want to rank high at an event. So teams must be really conscious of what they're doing, but especially because they want to win the match first and foremost. 3 ranking points is a lot of ranking points. It's as many as you can get even if you don't win the match. Those unicorn matches where you don't win but you still get 3 ranking points are going to be rare this season. And I think that this match kind of clues us into how that's going to happen. So let's break down this almost unicorn match from Granite State District in Manchester, New Hampshire. Both red and blue alliances are going to run some very interesting strats. The blue alliance was predicted to have a blowout in this match. They were going to win by a lot, and for good reason. 3467, 6201, and 4909 would all end up being alliance captains at this event. They are the elite tier of this event. They're putting up more coral than any other robot at the event. The red alliance needs to combat that somehow. And the Red Alliance has some of the best mid-tier scoring robots at the event. They're going to be able to not really match the coral output, but they could have a winning score in almost any other qual match, and they know this. So immediately, they know that they can get the coral RP, they can get the auto RP, and they can't get the barge RP because none of them have deep climbers. But they really need to go for those 2 RP, so that they don't drop too far in the rankings and they can still demonstrate to scouters that they have something worthwhile for picking. So this is a very interesting match. Red wants to get all of the ranking points that they can, and they're going to really come into that match with this attitude. And I think that's very interesting. Okay, so let's start at the beginning of the match. Red comes out of auto, knowing that they're only going to have a few on the reef. They're not going to really match the output of the Blue Alliance, but what they need to do is get 5 on 3 levels. They're going to take their time with this. They're not going to rush. They're not going to try to get in each other's way in order to do this. All that they have to do is combined put up 15 coral. They're going to break down each side by what robots are available. They're going to start with L4 because all of the nodes for where those available are available at that time. And they're going to work their way down based on which branches are available. Each of these teams has a station in front of them, and they're really going to be looking for those open spots. As you can see, they have all 5 coral placed by 15 seconds into the match. They're going for that ranking point. They know they're not going to win. So they don't have to put any more coral than that on L4. Where they're going to go next is L2, because they have those spots available. Taking algae out of the reef is something that is difficult for some teams this year. And not having someone that can do that consistently on your alliance and also takes away time from what your robot is scoring can be really impactful. Being able to place on L4 and then on L2 in those open spots is really important, and that's what they're going to do first here. They're each going to take a side of the reef, they're staying out of each other's way, and they're going to work well, as the one red robot, 811, takes out algae from the reef. We'll fast forward a little bit here as they continue working on that. Once they have the algae and all of their coral spots kind of taken out, they move up to L3 in order to get those last second ones, and they know that they can match that output, so they're going to continue to do so. This is how they're going to get the RP of this match. They're going to do 15 cycles, and that's about it. They know that they have the auto RP, they're going to get the coral RP, they know that they can't get the barge RP because none of them have deep climbers, so they're going to spend the last seconds going for the reef still, not climbing, but just parking, because they don't have the win. And that's okay. This strategy played out well for Red. They were able to get the 2 ranking points that they needed out of this match. And I think that it really gives us a good idea of what teams will be running at that sort of mid-level to try to get that ranking point. I think that it's very interesting to see this ranking point being scored by mid-level teams at this level of competition. And I think that it's something that we will see more of this season. Going from L4 to L2 to L3 makes the most amount of sense if your alliance can't de-algify in time, and I think that really worked out well for them. Now I think a strategy that we'll see in later weeks is what we're going to be looking at on the Blue Alliance. So let's look at this match again, but on the opposite side of the field. Right away, you can tell that this alliance is really prepped for making this RP, getting those 6 ranking points. All of their autonomouses have been hitting all day. 3467, Wyndham Windup, and 4909 have some of the most consistent autos at the event. They are some of the only teams that can hit a consistent free coral auto at the event, and they know that even if they only hit 2 of those 3, they will still be ahead and in the right zone for getting that barge RP. So Wyndham hits 2, and then brings over another one. 4909 hits 2, and then 6201 is also going to hit 1, and 4909 only hit 2 that match, but that's okay. They are already at 5. They already have one of those 4 coral layers, and they don't have to do L4 anymore. But you'll see that at the start of this match, all of the teams go for L4. And I think it is very important to note that here, because they still need to secure the win. They know that this team of red robots is nothing to mess with. They know that if they mess up somehow, or they just go for the coral ranking point, there is a chance that they can lose this match. So what they do is they fill out L4 with as much coral as they can. So they have more than they need on that level. They know they have time that they can compensate at that point. But what they're really trying to do here is secure the win. And also, this gives time. I'll rewind for a second here. This gives Wyndham time to do something here. What they're going to do is they're going to place that coral on L4 and then grab the algae and head straight to the processor. Being able to score on a cycle is really important. You can't just be pulling algae off of the reef because it doesn't score you points. By making that one cycle and going for that coral, they really show that they are going to score a point there and then go to the processor. Doing a processor cycle on its own, not worth a lot of points. Doing that cycle, worth a lot of points, secures the win. Very good cycle for them. Wyndham is going to continue doing the processor here, but not in a way that you might expect. They do 2 there because they know that they need to do 3 in order for, they need to do 2 in the processor in order to get something, they need to do 2 in the processor in order to get that ranking point threshold down in order to get those 6 ranking points. But from there, they know that no one on the opposite side of the field can really do the processor. And they want co-op this match. So what Wyndham is going to do is actually very interesting. They are going to do co-op for the opposite alliance. Wyndham has traversed the field here. They've gone under the shallow cage that they've hung there, and they are going to go to the processor. I think this strategy is very interesting. I don't know if we're going to see it in future weeks, but it was really, really successful for Wyndham this weekend. They seeded first at the competition, and they had the highest co-op score of any robot. I haven't seen co-op being used very much at other competitions, and this use of it really makes me think that it could be possible for teams to be using co-op in the future, especially when they have a high-powered alliance that can make up the differences in the cycles that they were losing. Speaking of their alliance, now that they have secured the win, they have gotten all these on L4, and the reef has been de-algified and all of these spaces are open. The field has been cleared. There is no more algae to sort of get in the way of their alliance. It's all been processed and thrown into the net. Teams are going to start working on L3 first, and then L2. The reason that they're going in this order is because they have everything off the reef, and also L3 is worth more points. So going from L4 to L3 to L2 really makes sense here for this alliance. They're going to continue doing that for the rest of the match, filling up spaces that have higher point values after they've filled all of the threshold requirements, and then they're just going to keep filling the reef. Because Wyndham had the shallow cage up in order for them to cross the field and go do the processor, their alliance knows that they are not going to have all three of those robots deep climb. And that's okay, because they know that they can get the barge ranking point with only one robot, and they need more robots that are scoring coral, and being able to have that trade-off of going to the processor versus not getting the ranking point, I think is a very smart move there. So overall, this strategy, very interesting, not something that I have seen at any other district or regional this week play out. And I think it will kind of impact what teams are doing in order to secure all of those ranking points at the end of the day. The processor strategy was one of the most interesting this weekend, but do you think that we'll see it in future weeks? I don't know. I think that it'll be important for teams that can't do the processor and want to get that coral RP, but also have the firepower to back it up on their alliance. I think that the reason that this strategy really worked out for the Blue Alliance is that they had 3 elite robots at this event. And that's why they were able to get such a high score, but also get the co-op at the same time. It's a trade-off, and it's a strategy that I think played out very interestingly this week, and definitely worked out for Wyndham, who was able to seed first and take the event. This match maybe shows us a little bit more about what REEFSCAPE can become. Strategies this year haven't been super interesting. We've seen a lot of 2 offense, 1 defense playing a match, and not a lot of triple offense. And I think that seeing a triple offense match where we get 6 ranking points and 2 ranking points on the other side is very interesting. So what do you think we're going to see differently in future weeks with a match like this? I think that we could see some evolution of, as teams get better, they're doing the processor less and they'll need that less. But I also think that at lower levels of this competition, this is a completely valid strategy. So looking back on matches from this week and seeing what we might see in the future, I think that this definitely has merit, and I can't wait to see where it goes. We'll see you next time on FUNalysis. I'm Ari, and good luck at your competitions this week.